All right, guys, welcome back to another chapter of First Samuel. We're in First Samuel chapter 13, where the header reads, God rejects Saul for disobedience. Continued war with Philistia. And we'll get right into it. Saul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 42 years. Saul selected 3,000 special troops from the army of Israel and sent the rest of the men home. He took 2,000 of the chosen men with him to Michmash and the hill country of Bethel. The other 1,000 went with Saul's son Jonathan to Gibeah, in the land of Benjamin. Soon after this, Jonathan attacked and defeated the garrison of Philistines at Geba. The news spread quickly among the Philistines, so Saul blew the ram's horn throughout the land, saying, Hebrews, hear this, rise up and revolt. All Israel heard the news that Saul had destroyed the Philistine garrison at Geba, and that the Philistines now hated the Israelites more than ever. So the entire Israelite army was summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines mustered a mighty army of 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and as many warriors as the grains of sand on the seashore. They camped at Michmash, east of Bethaven. The men of Israel saw what a tight spot they were in, and because they were hard pressed by the enemy, they tried to hide in caves, thickets, rocks, holes, and cisterns. Some of them crossed the Jordan River and escaped into the land of Gad and Gilead. Meanwhile, Saul stayed at Gilgal, and his men were trembling with fear. Saul waited there 7 days for Samuel. As Samuel had instructed him earlier, but Samuel still didn't come. Saul realized that his troops were rapidly slipping away, so he demanded, Bring me the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Saul sacrificed the burnt offering himself. Just as Saul was finishing with the burnt offering, Samuel arrived. Saul went out to meet and welcome him. But Samuel said, What is this you have done? Saul replied, I saw my men scattering from me, and you didn't arrive when you said you would, and the Philistines are at Michmash, ready for battle. So I said, The Philistines are ready to march against us at Gilgal, and I haven't even asked for the Lord's help, so I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering myself before you came. How foolish, Samuel exclaimed. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. Had you kept it, the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom must end, for the Lord has sought out a man after his own heart. The Lord has already appointed him to be the leader of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command. Samuel then left Gilgal and went on his way, but the rest of the troops went with Saul to meet the army. They went up from Gilgal to Gibeah, in the land of Benjamin. When Saul counted the men who were still with him, he found only 600 were left. Saul and Jonathan and the troops with them were staying at Geba, in the land of Benjamin. The Philistines set up their camp at Michmash. 3 raiding parties soon left the camp of the Philistines. One went north toward Ophrah in the land of Shual. Another went west to Beth-horon, and the third moved toward the border above the valley of Zeboim, near the wilderness. There were no blacksmiths in the land of Israel in those days. The Philistines wouldn't allow them for fear they would make swords and spears for the Hebrews. So whenever the Israelites needed to sharpen their plowshares, picks, axes, or sickles, they had to take them to a Philistine blacksmith. The charges were as follows: a quarter for an ounce of silver for sharpening a plowshare or a pick, and an eighth of an ounce for sharpening an axe or making the point of an ox goad. So on the day of the battle, none of the people of Israel had a sword or spear, except for Saul and Jonathan. The pass at Michmash had meanwhile been secured by a contingent of the Philistine army. And on that's the end of chapter 13, guys. And so I love the reflection that Samuel gives to Saul, and his hastiness. When you read it at face value, when Saul decides to do the sacrifices himself and kind of make sure that his timing is on pace as things that he says, hey, this is my expectation. The battle's ready to undergo. Let's get started. Let's make sure that I talk to God and I make these sacrifices, when that wasn't his to begin with. When you read it the way that it's written, part of me thinks that, well, that makes sense, especially for being me, that in a fleshly sense, I thrive when there's linear understanding of timeline. We're going to do this, then we do this, then we do this. Recipe for success. In my submission to God, I struggle with that. That's one of the things I struggle the most with, because that's just how I see them. And until I start seeing them through God's eyes, I'm always going to struggle with the aspects of timeline and understanding. Sometimes my job isn't to understand, and I struggle with that sometimes too, because sometimes the understanding I seek is to help provide peace for others outside of myself. And when I can't be the one to provide that, I struggle with that. And I don't know if that's me wanting to make myself an idol, or wanting to be on the same plane as God, or have certain impact or affluence or power, or whatever that might be. And sometimes it's not always selfless. Sometimes it is selfish. I want the means to my own ends as I see them, and I would like them now. And I might desire them for selfless reasons, but I know that even through the selfless reasons that I might voice, the selfish part is because it would bring me peace. And that's not what's supposed to bring me peace. God is supposed to bring me peace. And when I start to conflate what's bringing me peace as, no, the things that God provides me bring me peace. No, that's not it. It's my submission and reliance on Him, because it doesn't matter what happens as long as I have Him. That is a very, very, very difficult thing to just take part in. And it's the thing that I struggle with most as a Christian. I follow Christ, and I want to submit to Him in all things, absolutely everything. I still struggle with it, though. My prayers are often giving thanks. I always want to focus on even as bad as a day can go. And I assure you, they can go bad. Last couple of weeks, they're both personally, professional. They can go awry real quick and in a hurry. But that's not to be my comfort. That paycheck that I get, the people that I serve, they are not, it's not their job to provide me comfort. I am to serve, and through that service, through that submission, God will comfort me. That is all that I need. And understanding that will be what provides me the greatest amount of peace, because I don't have to worry about anything then, except for serving and loving. God will provide the rest. And so on that note, have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. I'll be back for chapter 14 of 1 Samuel, where the header reads, Jonathan's Daring Plan. Have a good night and God bless, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.